Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very latest CADS podcast. Sorry for the late start. We've actually been going for 25 minutes and we only just realised that we hadn't actually been live. That's entirely down to me, and I hold my hands up and I'm sorry. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and sticking around for this extended version. But we've got a bumper crop of people here tonight. We're starting with Austin. Say hello.
Hi, I'm
Ashley.
And Jen.
And Ashley, we do need to come for you for a weather check because that is important. We'd miss that every week.
Yeah, it's
lovely,
it's like
isn't it?
it's like about 22 degrees and there's not a cloud in the sky. And I went swimming in the
There we
morning
go.
at an outdoor.
Charlie, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I've got my new Matty Cash hairdo, and I'm like fully, as you know, tribute to that tackle from, I believe it was somebody nailed in yesterday.
I think everyone was out to nail him yesterday.
I just
Charlie, if you put a headband down, you can look like $100 million player like Grealish.
yeah, definitely. I've heard that. My calves are similar in bulbousness, but I just want to say Ange out because
he's out
on this. Yeah, I'm sick of that guy. He doesn't know how to run a club. He plays boring football, and I hate how many times he says "mate" in a sentence before making onwards.
He should pack up his knapsack and leave the club as far as you're concerned. We have a newbie joining us tonight. Andy C. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm doing all right. I'm just very, very happy to finally be able to make it onto one of these. I'm usually out working. Today I'm not, and I took my opportunity. So, yeah, great to be here.
Welcome.
Perfect. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, some will say it was Matty Cash's destiny to be clattered by Udogi.
Well, there was Udogi, there was Bentancur. I'm pretty sure Romero had a go at some point as well. I'm not sure who Romero kicked when he hurt his foot, but if it was Cash, then we'll take it. David, how you doing?
Ramsey.
I know you're not feeling too hot.
Not
but
Ramsey,
how you doing?
sorry. It wasn't Ramsey.
I've already said hello once.
I know you did, but the viewers,
Say again.
the viewers, think of the viewers.
I'm kidding. Yes, hello. Yes, I'm. What did I say last? I said yes, Ange. I'm definitely Ange on the fence. So yeah, but a very happy man. Very happy to have seen what I saw yesterday. Yeah, excellent.
Flange
All right,
out.
so off camera, we've actually discussed the Manchester City match. We will do a little bit of that. We will circle back to it at the end, but let's talk about Aston Villa. First half, kind of even, but they went in ahead at the break. Second half, all Tottenham. We were by far the better side, and we made them look a little bit silly. And very, very happy to see it. How did everyone feel watching that, and what is your takeaway? Chime in with whatever you've got.
If I can start, Aston Villa came into it with a reputation of being an extremely organised team, and I think that they really were very well organised, and it was no surprise that they went in, that they took the lead and went in 1-0 up. But before we got our equaliser, we just came out looking like a different proposition in the second half. Sarr, what can you say? I mean, he looked a bit lost for a while at the end of last season, and more so the first few matches this season. But he's really come into his own. He just ran that midfield, the whole midfield in the second half. He was so pivotal. Brilliant.
I hate to say it, but it reminds me a bit of the Moose in terms of the amount of time he has on the ball, the number of times he wins the ball back, the success of his passing. He does remind me a bit of Dembele, although he's not as intricate in terms of his play, but his effectiveness is very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a few players
compared to.
Yeah, there's a few players that seem to take a little bit of Moussa Dembele, but not one of them does it all like Moussa did. So I think, for example, Decky, I think he has that same. It's impossible to get the ball off him, or So he has that. The ball seems to just stick to Decky like it used to stick to Musa. I think Bissouma sometimes shows little sort of little twists and turns when he turns out of trouble and suddenly opens space up when he's on form, which he isn't always, unfortunately. And then, like you said, Sarr as well. Sarr has been amazing the last few matches. Absolutely amazing.
Sarr's been great. There was a statistic. He broke their game. He cut out something like 13 passes yesterday, which is a ridiculous number for any individual player. So
it's usually more like 4 is decent. 4 is usually considered decent.
So, but on the other side, there was some loose play in our midfield, and we were giving up some balls even in the second half, where we were running pretty rampant, and just a few turnovers where it just seemed a little bit sloppy. And I think at least a couple of those were down to him. So he's not going to be the perfect player yet. He's 20, 21. He's got a long way to go in terms of his career and progression and things like that. And same thing with Destiny Udogie. I see a lot of people complaining about, he's not good enough defending and things like that. He's very young for a first-team player in a Premier League side. And we've got a few of them. We've got a few first-team players or getting around the area who are very, very young, and we're just going to get better as time goes on.
God, we're nearly as young as Manchester City's team that they put out, aren't we?
I got it.
Thank you.
Udogie tends to be to have some youthful rashness, but when he's not playing like that, he's really, really good. But yeah, he's got a huge upside.
On the subject of Udogie, I think something changed at half time yesterday, and I saw Udogie making a lot of overlapping runs, like traditional sort of fullback runs, sort of behind and around the winger, around Son. I think he was the decoy runner for our first goal, which allowed Son to get that cross in. And there was a couple of other times I just don't think Cash knew what was coming after that. We got a lot more width as a result, and I think that sort of that pulled them out of joint a little bit, Aston Villa. And once they got the first goal, per what we were talking about before, I don't think this is on this recording, but John McGinn, who Andy loves so much aesthetically. John McGinn, through those beady eyes, told us that he was very impressed with the decibel levels of the stadium once that first goal went in. It was almost like he, as the captain of the team, said that he couldn't handle it, and by virtue, the rest of the Aston Villa team couldn't deal with the noise levels in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is obviously all down to Daniel Levy.
Some good architecture, I believe, is what it's down to.
and 17,500 fans.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to just mention one player because nobody else will. And all this stuff is great. Solanke,
we know where this is going. Everyone knows where this is going. Ben Davies.
But in the last two games, he has. I think that saying he's a good squad member. I actually think that does him a disservice. Yeah, he's not a starter for every game, but the guy is a professional. He actually has skill. Somebody said it was Alistair Gold. He's always turns up and he's 7 out of 10. Always 7 out of 10. Ben Davies you're talking about.
Yes.
And I think his professionalism spreads. It might actually even be better than Cootie's sort of energy or whatever he sends out. That Ben's steadiness might actually infiltrate, and he and Dragishin are going to be defenders for the next 2 games. It's just a big, call out, shout out to Ben Davies for just being such a great professional and actually always doing the job. And I think inspiring us from the back. Good on Ben. I mean that sincerely. Everyone else is great and contribute. Sarr, Solanke, all of them. Johnson, another Welshman. But
Davies really did deserve a big shout out because the defense clearly calmed down to whatever extent once he came on. And, you see him coming on instead of Romero, who used to be considered hands down our best defender. And people used to groan, but I don't think that it's fair on him to do that now, because he's just so solid and so dependable.
Yes, totally.
The thing that slightly worries me about Ben Davies is his contract length. He is out of contract in the summer, and if he goes somewhere else, which it looks like he may do, he's going to go there and be very solid and be part of a squad and be probably a regular player for a Premier League team. I really wouldn't be against extending his contract by a year or two and just letting him see out his career at Tottenham and take his place from the bench, unless he wants to leave and be a first teamer towards the tail end of his career. That's what it comes down to at the end, I think. Same thing with Sonny. Sonny's effectively out of contract at the end of this season. We've got a 1-year extension that we can trigger, and it sounds like we are going to trigger it. At least that's the news in the press today. Some news that has just come out. Cuti Romero's injury is apparently not serious, and he is expected to be fit for the Ipswich game next Sunday. So maybe Ben Davies won't be getting 2 games.
Which, unfortunately, means that he will also be able to go to Argentina. In a way, I would actually prefer it if he's not deemed ready, so that we can have him for 2 weeks and he doesn't wind up getting injured on international duty.
I'll be at the Ipswich game.
Oh, really?
Hey.
I'm going there, yeah.
Very nice.
Looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you send us updates from your phone as you go?
Yeah, it's quite handy, isn't it?
Yeah, quite handy to have that.
As an aside, my dad will be attending his first game in December ever.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, he turned 75 last month, and my younger brother's bringing him over. So I think the last time he saw Spurs was in the preseason and a game when they toured, but before that would have been in the 60s.
Wow.
Wow.
That was so massive milestone for us. Yeah. Getting him over.
Is he the reason, that you became a Spurs fan?
He didn't force it on us, but probably.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm definitely forcing it on my kids. There's no chance of them getting away with it.
Which one's he going to, Which match, do you know?
Wolves and... I'm not sure. It was Wolves and another one. I can't remember now.
Wolves is on the 29th.
Yeah, it's 29th. It's the 2 games around Christmas.
Okay, so there's...
Yeah.
We've got Newcastle on the 4th of January.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not Newcastle. It's the ones before that.
But Liverpool at home. We're at home to Liverpool just before Christmas.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Must be that.
Yeah.
Nice one. Great.
Nice one.
Oh, that should be an easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as we go behind. David, keep an eye on that. Sorry, I'm sorry. Just quickly on the Ipswich game. Keep an eye on that Liam Delap for Ipswich. I think he's a great player. I think he's really, really good. Sort of player.
Okay.
Fantastic addition to us. I mean, he's come from Man City. I don't know how much of a sort of buyback they've got on him, but
what position does he play?
Left wing,
striker.
I think. Yeah,
he's
a
striker,
fantastic player. Oh, is he striker?
Yeah, England under 21 striker as well. So
He any relation?
He is, yeah.
No,
he's the son.
Oh, it's a
Okay.
Yeah.
You must have a long throw on him then.
I used to watch Dad at Carlisle.
The other player they've got that's quite interesting is their left back, Leaf.
He's got a crack.
We should be keeping an eye on just in case they go down, because picking him up to be backup as to a doggy would not be a bad idea.
Got a cracking goal at the weekend. A lovely volley.
He did, yeah.
Very nice, yeah.
Stu,
so him and the Bournemouth left back are the ones that I'd like to be keeping an eye on right now.
Stu, I love those evolving images behind you, but I keep seeing, and maybe this is the next topic. I keep seeing Solanke come up, and let's have a little chat about Solanke, yesterday's game.
Yep, these are all the goals and the highlights from the game, because we don't have any Premier League rights or anything. So oil paintings is what you get. Yeah, let's talk Solanke. as anybody who's been watching these CAD podcasts knows, a lot of us have been talking very, very highly of that particular young gentleman. He's not been in and amongst the goals, but he's been putting in the kind of shift and the kind of effort that we love to see, and putting in an amazing performance up front yesterday, and finished it off with 2 goals. And that first goal was just sublime. I thought a lovely bit of play, a fantastic ball. Was it from Decky that found him in space? Timed beautifully, and a fantastic chip over the #1 goalkeeper in the world.
He's right behind you right now.
There he is. There he is. Oh,
Yeah.
Other way. There you go. I think that's from his second goal, actually. But, yeah.
The interplay was fantastic. It was a dream goal. Everything was fantastic. One touch passing, very crisp, quick, classy finish. On top of that, I mean, I think it was Decky, Johnson, and Solanke. Yeah, it was the goal that you
missed a
love.
Contribution there. There's a particular Welsh contribution. It was a block from Ben Davis right at the start that started the entire thing. Yeah,
Did start, yeah.
That's true. He got a really good block in.
With that Solanke goal, the one where Decky did that superb first time pass just into space in the penalty area, is what Decky did there. That's kind of representative of a lot of what he does, and I think that's why he's put Maddison on the bench, because when we were playing, in my view, poorly at the beginning of the season, everything was so pedestrian, everything was so slow, every ball was to feet, every ball had to be controlled and then passed. We were always slowing up. What Decky seems to be allowing us to do is play first time balls into interesting positions, and that's what he's doing that Maddison wasn't able to do, in my view. So I think that's like encapsulates a big part of why Decky's playing and Maddison's on the bench.
I also think
I think Maddison's more of a scurrier. He's still very good on the ball. He does pick out some very nice passes, but he's not that instantaneous first time pass that Kulusevski can do, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's against those well organised teams where you just can't play these sort of thoughtful, getting the ball, get it under control, play a thoughtful pass. You just don't have the time against the Arsenals and the Aston Villas and the Leicesters and people like that. You just don't. And I think Decky gives us something that Maddison doesn't.
Very quick thinking. Very quick thinking.
Yeah.
Very much.
Excellent.
Yeah, I also
we
think
do
it's
need
the
to
reality.
give a little bit of love to the other Welshman on the pitch, Brennan Johnson, who scored the first goal for us and got us back into the game. Somewhat taking it off the toes of a certain Dominic Solanke. If he hadn't done that, maybe the big Dom would have got a hat-trick.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see him doing what he does best, getting in there at the far post and putting it in from 2 yards. Doesn't miss those. Does
7
he?
goals. 7 goals. He's our top scorer.
By a long way.
So, question about Johnson. Sometime last year, or maybe even just as he was coming, I was wondering if at some point in his career, Ange might do a Thierry Henry with him and switch him from the wing to a central striking position. And at first, for the longest time, that seemed like it was an absurd thought because he just had no confidence in front of goal. But now he's got his confidence going in front of goal and he's striking those balls in just beautifully. The thoughts come back in my head. Could he be like a latter-day Thierry Henry for us?
No pressure there.
Yeah. But 7 goals, including 6 in 6 matches, no pressure, but he's creating that kind of buzz that maybe that's a possibility.
He's a much better forward than he is a winger in any case.
Yeah, he did play up front for Nottingham Forest for a while, but I think they just preferred him out wide as well. So, I mean, it is a move that has been done by quite a few players, going from that wide position through to the more central.
Gareth, what's his name?
Another Welshman.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
playing
he
out
wasn't
on the
bad.
wing allows him to ghost in undetected, and that creates those opportunities for him. But he does have, the attributes. His one-on-one finishing is excellent, and he's pacey. At times his run's good, so it's not a bad shout. But at the moment, I think he has such a good understanding of what's required of him, and he's always in the right position. I think that also catches the opposition. They shouldn't, because he's done it so long, but to sustain that over 90 minutes, maybe, his timing is fantastic coming in from the right.
Yeah. What more Martin was the Thierry Henry? He was the ghost.
The ghost, yeah. He just goes in there, and I think our problem is more that we got nobody on the right. Look at it. We've got like 3 guys that can go left, but unless Odegaard is fit, I don't think anybody. We don't have too many options at the moment. But maybe when we have all our options, we will see it from time to time when we're chasing a game, and I wouldn't be opposed to it either.
Yeah, fitness is
good
something I did actually want to talk about. We seem to be on the cusp of an injury crisis. Once again, Richarlison is out. Romero, if the news is true about him not being seriously injured, being available for Ipswich, that's fantastic news. But right now, it looks like he might be out for a bit. Van der Ven is out for a little while.
Odegaard.
Are we close to having an injury crisis? Because we're back to our last 2 central defenders and being a little bit fragile in certain areas. Sonny clearly isn't fully fit, hence being hooked yesterday at 55 minutes. He was not happy about that, by the way. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But how much work do we have to do in January to really bolster this squad, do you think?
Well, centre back for sure, because we're like Dragic away from not really having any real centre backs.
The issue there, mate, is that we've got is it what's his name?
Vuskovic.
Oh yeah,
Vuskovic coming over from in the summer, and then we've also got Ashley Phillips who's on loan. I mean, I can't. I just with Dragusin, what's happened with Dragusin? He's getting his chance right now, but it was always going to come down to a centre back getting injured, and that's why he was brought in, kind of, really, wasn't it? I can't imagine anybody wanting to come of the caliber of even Dragusin and play fourth fiddle to what we have, especially if they come back and they play the rest of the season. We're going to have a whole load of quality centre backs in the summer. I would think maybe the only reason we might sign somebody is because we know that one of those guys is going to get sold.
Yes. What about a 32-year-old?
Who's 32?
32-year-old.
I don't know, but I mean, instead of us bringing in a young player, we've used this before. We bring in someone in the last couple of years of their top flight career.
You're giving me nasty memories of the winter when we signed Ryan Bloody Nelson and what was his name, Louis Saha.
Yeah, I was thinking Nuruddin Naibet myself, but that wasn't so bad.
You're more charitable than I am.
But we did that with Lorente at the other end, and he actually did pretty well for picked his spots, and he did really well. So Andy's kind of right. If we could find somebody end of the contract or something like that, centre back who might want to just come in and we give him the next, come in for a bit, that would be great. Doesn't have to take away from
bringing in someone at that end of their career is that we've had to have to register them in the squad and they have to have a spot, and we don't have that many available spots really. We kind of need to have someone who's under 21 who can play that position and maybe wants to come through on a slower basis. And yeah, Vuskovic is an issue because I know Postecoglou was saying that he didn't really feel like bringing someone in over the summer because he didn't want to hinder the progress or the path of someone like Vuskovic unless they find someone who's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, could be an issue. But hey, are we just okay with extending Ben Davies's contract for a little bit longer then?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. We've talked about a lot of our midfielders, but we haven't really talked that much about young Papa Matasar, who I thought was superb. Loads of running. I think he's not been the difference in between having an all right run and being really good, but he's certainly added some real balance to our midfield. Since he came in, our left-hand side has not looked quite as shaky as it did before. He's certainly a bit more combative and got the legs to cover that space. And I just think he's such a good player. He eats up the space, got a decent pass on him. He's combative and seems to know where to play the ball. He's got to be the perfect squad player, hasn't he?
He's excellent. At the beginning of last season, he was amazing. After having been dropped from the team towards the end of the previous season, the way he came in and started last year, he was brilliant. He did drop off and he wasn't great at the beginning of this season, but whatever tweaks have happened, he's just been superb in the last 3 appearances. Just
since
superb.
Since he came on against West Ham.
Yes.
It seems to me that
half-time, yeah.
It seems to me the big one was when we were 2-0 up against Brighton, and then we were sort of maybe 10 minutes into the second half, and I think they got a goal back. And I think at that point we were like, well, we could really use someone like Sarr, and I think a lot of people were talking about it. We should have at that point brought on Sarr. Since then, he's brought Sarr on at the right times. He has shut down matches. He's chased after. He's intercepted balls in midfield. I think he's had a couple of goal contributions from breaking up play in the midfield. And he, for me, when he comes onto the pitch, I get a sense that we're sort of locking it down a little bit, and I feel very, very, very confident when he gets on, which wasn't the same as the end of last season. I thought he was young, and I thought he was a little bit naive and just young. But now he's quite imperious when he has a ball and in that centre block and winning the ball. And I just think he's really grown up, literally, almost feels like overnight.
Yes.
His maturity
very sudden.
He was actually, if you look at the build-up on all the first 3 goals, he was involved in all 3 of them. I looked at the highlights. All 3 of them, he was involved. Played some.
Yeah, no, he played a really solid game. And you just got to tip your hat to him, to the point where he almost seems ahead of someone like Bissouma for a start. Bissouma's, I think, still battling for that 6th spot with Bentancur, but he can also play in the 8 role as well. So for me, I'd rather have young Pap in there because I think he's just got the legs to open up and get away from players.
You mean you'd want Pap as a number 6?
I'd want Pap as a number 8. I mean, Pap does play 6. He does play 6 for his international side. Austin, thank you very much for joining us. I know you're off. Have a good one.
Cheers,
We
Austin.
will be talking again soon. Not 6, but certainly when it comes to playing in that midfield, if you're looking to add some more balance, then I think he's the go-to guy.
Yeah, no, it's just because Bissouma really only plays as a 6 for us, doesn't he? Really.
Yeah, and it seems like it's between Bentancur and Bissouma. I think that's quite a steady position right now. And just given what Ange said about those two and how they are sort of interchanging, obviously a lot of matches, and he's bringing one on or both of them on and interchanging. They both seem like they're, very comfortable with splitting that role.
I think Sarr has a better head on his shoulders than Bissouma already at that age. He's less prone to doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, taking laughing gas.
Yeah, if you look at it yesterday, I mean, he had
unnecessary bookings.
He had a booking and it never looked like getting another booking while doing everything he was supposed to do. Whereas I feel like Bus gets booked and then he's a shell of himself, or he gets, he does something rash.
Well, was it the Palace game where Sarr got taken off at halftime because he had a booking? Bissouma came on and got booked within 2 minutes. Use your head, buddy. Come on.
It was the first thing he did. He got booked, and then that was that. But you guys know I'm a massive fan of Sarr. I feel like he gives our midfield balance. He has that bit of everything, and that amount of energy and physicality he brings. It's almost like he earns the right for us to play our football. Because sometimes I feel that we do not match the other team's intensity, and in the games where we've struggled, that's been obvious. But with him there, it's almost like you can't. You've got this Energizer bunny that's hunting everything down, and everybody else has to, live up to it. And if you've got him, Solanke, and Kulusevski, you've got three players that are always working their asses off, and that makes a big difference.
Adesh, he's the sort of player I can imagine in 2 or 3 years could really develop into a box-to-box midfielder, sort of like a Patrick Vieira who actually chips in with a lot of goals. I seem to remember Vieira chipping in with a lot of goals. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but
no, Vieira got a few.
physicality. Yeah,
I'm not sure we're allowed to refer to that particular individual on here, but yeah. So I thought we talked about Henry. Now we're talking about Vieira. Who's next? Petit.
Okay.
Yeah, but he is so reminiscent of Patrick Vieira. You can't really talk about Patrick Vieira in the same.
Or we could compare him to Yaya Toure, maybe. That's the similar kind of.
Well, how about we compare him to the player that Bentancur had seemed to be until his injury last year? Because he was someone who purred around the field, looked like a Rolls Royce, and he always seemed to get the ball and just effortlessly sweep it around. And Sarr is almost more like Bentancur was last year than like Bentancur looks now.
I think the exciting thing is that you're seeing glimpses of that Bentancur. That even though in that sixth position, sometimes he just moves the ball so effortlessly, and should be a difficult position, and you don't know how he gets out of it. So I'm hoping he finds a bit of that old self.
He's shown it. He has shown it. He was a bit disappointing in the first half yesterday. But previous to that, he put in some performances that were as close as he has got to his imperious self up to his injury last season.
He was playing in a different role. He's playing in the number 6 now, not the number 8, because he was getting in the box. He scored one of the 2 goals in one game or something like that. So he is playing in a different role. Ange has him in a different role, so he's probably learning to adjust to this sort of role.
Also, I don't think we can understate the mentorship aspect of these guys who have played 8 that way, to young players coming through. The likes of Sarr and Bergwell, I mean, they've got some really, really great players to look up to. In Deki's still young, but he's played a lot of games. But besides Sonny, I think Bentancur is someone they can look up to, winning all those Serie A titles and things like that. I think it's Gray has
said that those guys help him, so it definitely a good observation.
That's the biggest change with this season and last season. Last season we were bringing on players like Højbjerg and Lo Celso as substitutes. Now we're bringing on players who genuinely are learning from the people who they're coming on for, and they're young and hungry, and they're happy to be on the bench and come on and get 25-30 minutes, and it's all building towards something, as opposed to the unfortunate tag of Deadwood, which we had a good old clear out of last year, which we knew as Spurs fans. We were watching players who didn't have a future at the club come on and try and make a difference, and essentially raise their price tag in their forthcoming transfers. You can't overlook that level of what Johan Lange has done and Levy's done to overhaul Tottenham. You can't really. That's why comparing us with last season is it's pointless, really. I think it's something we're building, and I think Charlie, I will say this. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'll speak after you. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we've seen it with a couple of players, Johnson and now Sarr and potentially Maddison as well, when they do get put on the bench and their position in the starting 11 isn't sure, they do come on with a point to prove, and invariably, and we saw it with Johnson to spectacular effect, like that he was banging them in. This was probably more last season than this season, but I've definitely seen that with Sarr. It's more of a squad feel,
And it's starting to feel to me that there's some real character in this that we haven't always seen before. I mean, I think Gray is quite a good example of that. He's been playing on the right, in the middle, I think he played on the left at some point.
Came on left yesterday.
Yeah, and he said, I'm happy to play anywhere because I'm learning about it. But if you go to him playing on the right, he had a really torrid time against a couple of players. I can't remember who it was. Was it against
West Ham?
Against West Ham, he had a bit of a torrid time, didn't he? But he stuck to his task. Yeah, exactly. But he sticks at it and he keeps going and he doesn't give up. And I think that's incredibly good character. And I think said it in the bit that we didn't record, which was, we had to, these last two victories, Manchester City and Aston Villa, we really had to earn those victories. We had to, against City, we had to dig out that second half because we were under an awful lot of pressure. I haven't seen us play backs to the wall like that for quite a long time. And we pulled it off. And against Aston Villa, it was the opposite. We had to really earn the right to play in the first half. And then in the second half, we could just develop our game. But we could only do that because of what we did in the first half. And I really think players like Sarr, coming into the team, they're giving us the platform, they're giving us the right to play our football. It's making a massive difference.
Yeah. As an aside, you mentioned Lo Celso. Did you guys see that there's quite a bit of positivity around the guy we've got in the deal with Lo Celso, Cardoso. I see a lot of Man City fans.
Got him. We have an option to buy him.
Option, I see Man City fans.
Like a very healthy option.
Who's that? Who are we talking about?
Johnny Cardoso.
Johnny Cardoso. We have first option on him as part of the Celso deal, and the fee is already agreed. And but he's pulling up trees in Spain, so much so that City fans want him to come in to fill in for Rodri while he's missing.
Oh wow!
So that's been doing the rounds recently. Yeah.
So apparently we've got an option to buy him for 21 million.
25.
25
I think was what I heard. It'd be 26, including the money we've already spent on buying the option. But
and we have first option.
Trigger that in a 2-week period in June or something like that.
Yeah, and if anybody else agrees a fee with them, we have first option, and we can match. Yeah.
He's a defensive midfielder. Is that right? He'd be a number 6, would he?
He's a 6.
Come in number 6, certainly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's still a position we do need to do some work in.
Doesn't seem like Gray is going to get much of a look in there. He's already the third in line.
Gray's such a good player. The problem is he's such a good player, but he's so versatile that you're like, well, do we give up his versatility and lock him down to one spot, but then we miss out on him covering defence and left back and right back? Or, he's such a good player. Dyer.
When he was so good in the DM role, every now and then he would need to drop back and be a centre back for a match or two to fill in for an injury. And every time that happened, when he went back into the defensive midfield role, he was better because it just, I don't know, it improved his vision of what was going on around him. And I see that Gray right now is just building his full pitch vision, and that if he does move into a DM role, he could still be drafted into one of the other positions as needed, and then when he goes back, it would make him a better player. I mean, he's obviously a quick study. So I think that he can only be helped by what he's doing now, but at some point he has to have a single role, because otherwise he's going to be hindered and then he's not going to stay.
Yeah, another parallel is Ledley King, who came into the side and played midfield for his first few games. So he didn't turn out too bad. More of that, please.
Yes, he did not.
So the really good thing about bringing in players like Vuskovic, like Gray, like Bergvall, is we're bringing them in at an age at 18 years old where they spend 3 seasons with us. They go down as homegrown at club, and we really need that for our European numbers.
Yes.
And the same thing, it's going to be the Korean guy, Yang, who's coming in. He'll have exactly the same thing unless we send him out on loan somewhere.
Well, there is a way that Arsenal got around that, and whatever the hell that is, that's what we need to do if we send him out on loan, because they got away with that and we didn't. And I don't know what the difference was.
I think
A lot of Arsenal love.
closed.
A lot of Arsenal love on this podcast today, guys.
Well, if we're going to talk Arsenal, we could very quickly say it's interesting news that Edu has quit Arsenal today.
Massive.
This is a guy who's been heavily involved in their recruitment. Has been a really big individual for them. Got very close apparently to Mikel Arteta, and they basically just letting him go with a bit of a whimper. So I think now is exactly the right time for them to give Mikel Arteta a 10, 15-year contract and just let him carry on doing what he's been doing for the last few seasons. Just keep at it. Don't try and do any better.
Do we know why he's gone?
There is apparently some pushback on some of their more recent signings, saying they're not as good as they expected.
Okay.
Is all I've heard, but it's all rumor and conjecture.
Good.
Yeah.
Hope it continues.
Hey, how will our team look against Galatasaray on Thursday?
Much changed is my guess. I
Yeah,
don't
definitely.
see Romero being back. I don't think Vicario will play. Udogie might play, but that boy really needs a rest. He's played so many games.
But do we have any choice?
I think it's maybe why he put Gray on. He put Gray there on.
Maybe, yeah.
That's maybe why I gave him a few
Gray at
minutes.
left back and Porro at right back, but then you're playing Porro in a game where it's going to be a bit fiery. It's a tough one. It's so tough. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Bergvall start. Frankly,
Yes.
I wouldn't mind seeing Lancashire start up front because we know Richarlison's not going to make it.
What are the permutations of this?
Moore?
Just quickly, what are the permutations of this? Do we need to win? I don't think we need to win, do we?
No.
No,
Right.
No, we don't need
we've
to
got
win.
ourselves in a position we don't need to win this. We can lose this one and maybe another one. As long as we win other games, we'll still qualify in the top 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think looking at Galatasaray away, I mean, you look at that and go, that's probably quite. If we are going to be up against it and really have to fight, it's going to be during that game. And he might look at what you said which is blood some of the youngsters, get them involved in a spicy fixture and use it, just chalk it up to experience, because we really don't. We're really light on a few options outside of midfield, aren't we?
When is that match?
Yeah,
Is it-
that's right squad because they've got Sanchez, haven't they?
Right.
Didn't he go there?
You do.
Oh yeah, Davinson Sanchez.
Yeah, Davinson Sanchez linked to a long time ago. Aidin, we've also been linked to Demirbe, Yilmaz, and Mauro Icardi, Michi Batshuayi, and Victor Osimhen up front. I mean, that is not a bad
team.
side.
Decent.
So, and it's not a particularly fun place to travel to and play as the away side. I mean, they don't have a band that says "Welcome to Hell" for nothing.
Well, we might see a team that's completely different. Let's be fair. I mean, apart from the midfield, which has sort of positive rotation right now, I feel like obviously Maddison is probably going to start. You might see, obviously, I'm hoping Werner is back at that point, but I think we really need to give Johnson a break as well. So maybe Mikey Moore on the right. Johnson just seems to play every minute possible. Like there doesn't seem like to be a backup right now because of what's happened to Wilson. So I mean, I love that. I love that Dragason's getting plenty of minutes right now. He's obviously feeling very loved. I thought he had a great game against Villa. I thought he was because we didn't really say anything about him. I think that's probably what centre backs sort of measure themselves on, is like not being talked about too much, just getting on with it.
Actually, yeah, because when he came into the team in those first couple of Europa matches, I thought he looked not great, but now he's starting to get some minutes, and now he's starting to get a bit of rhythm and getting maybe a bit match sharper. He's looking much better.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean he's more akin to sort of, I think, Romero, the way that Romero plays than Van der Ven. So I think, you know, I'm not saying anything here, but I think when Real Madrid come in with like and Daniel Levy slaps 150 million pounds price tag on somebody, he's expecting negotiations down the road. So, you know, I think Dragason's a huge player for us into the future. I just can't see him leaving. I think he's a really good defender. And Romero is a fantastic player as well. He's probably got, you know, he's got worldly ambition, being a World Cup winner and everything. But so our defence looks really, really good for the next few seasons, with Ashley Phillips, who had a great season at Plymouth last year. I think he was player of the season. And then the guy whose name I can't pronounce, beginning with a V, seems like he's just taking over things in Belgium right now, which makes me ask the question, is he potentially a midfielder if he's got that much skill?
You want to play him at number 6 as well?
Yeah, well, Romero's already gone to Real Madrid for 150 million, so...
You've got to have someone else to throw in there. I don't know if anybody saw, but there was one season from Vuskovic. He was playing like a number 10, not a number 6. Brilliant move, lovely pass, such a beautifully weighted pass, and you're like, oh, okay, this kid's got something. He is a beast. This kid's a beast. He's 17 years old or something at the moment. He doesn't turn 18 until February. He's about 6'1", 6'2", agile, tall, strong. Yeah, this kid's got everything. Apparently, he's a little bit slow on the turn, maybe at the moment, but then you could say the same for Ashley Phillips. So every player has a...
And Dragashin. Dragashin isn't the fastest on the turn.
I am not allowed to say anything negative about Dragashin. He's Romanian, so is my wife, so I would absolutely be murdered in my sleep if I was to say anything negative about that particular guy. He's a god. What can we say?
He looks like one.
Going back to who might play on Thursday, I don't know. Ange doesn't really tinker quite in this manner, but could we see Gray on the right, Bissouma at centre-back and Davies on the left? Is any chance at all that he tinkers in that kind of manner, dropping a defensive midfielder back into centre-back? Because we really do need to rest both of our fullbacks, so-called fullbacks.
We really do. The other option, I think, is bring in Dorrington, but I don't know how fit he is.
He's not very fit right now, and he apparently looked very, very rusty in his last match before he got sent off. So I don't know. That one's a bit tricky. It might be too soon, and it could really hurt his confidence.
He wasn't playing in the under-21s against Crystal Palace. I know that. Could have done with him because it was not a particularly good defensive performance in that one. But yeah, we certainly... I really think left-sided defence is a position we have to look for in January. We need to back that up. Apparently there is a guy, I'm not going to try and say his name, it's Kirkachuk or something like that. It's way too difficult for me to say. And I speak 3 languages, so I'm
we got Spence. We have Spence. He has to be in the EL squad next time around. We don't need 4 goalkeepers. Yes, we don't need 4 goalkeepers in the squad.
But the only goalkeeper we can take out is Forster. So, yeah.
So be it. I mean, do we really need to rotate goalkeepers? Do we?
That's what I was saying at the start of the season. Like, if
Never
there's
understand
one
why we
position where
rotate
you can play,
goalkeepers.
where a player can play every single game, it's your goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I mean, how many games did Lloris play in a row?
Yeah, I don't understand why we're rotating. It just, it's a waste of a spot. Jed should be.
There is only one, Dave. There's only one reason to do that, and that is to keep someone's eye in. Because for a goalkeeper to just sit on the bench week after week after sharpness whatsoever, their eye isn't in nothing, and that's the only reason for me to do it.
And he did well last time at Forster, by the way. I thought when he played.
But also, I mean, if you're where did he come from? Southampton, was it Forster?
Yeah.
He was playing for a Premier. He was number one for a Premier League club, and then he comes and signs for us. There has to be some kind of guarantee that you're going to get match time, right?
You'd think there's some kind of agreement in there, but at the same time, I don't think Ange is the kind of guy who guarantees anybody a spot.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
I know you're very anti-Ange right now, but I think you have to agree with that. He's not good
anti-Ange. Is he out yet? Has he gone, mate?
No, still with us. Hasn't been sacked after winning 9 out of the last 10 games or something.
It's his bland personality that I hate the most.
Yeah,
really. His lack of post-match and media interaction, is that it?
Yeah, just can't crack it. Couldn't crack an egg.
All right. We did promise everybody that we would talk about Manchester City. Let's keep it short and sweet. Manchester City, fucking great performance.
That sums it up.
Yeah, that'll do.
Did anybody stand out particularly for that one apart from Timo Werner? Timo Werner getting
Kulusevski
his goal
was easily man of the match. Kulusevski was absolutely was absolute beast. I mean, he said post match that he was he had his eye on that match for a while. Which, I mean, he's just different gravy. Kulusevski. He's obviously a sister who's managing him, and she seems to be right up his ass every time he does something wrong, which is hilarious. And can only imagine what their sort of version of Thanksgiving is like. If he messed up the potatoes. But yeah, I think that Decky was definitely showcasing himself, which I have no problem with that. He's in a glamour position right now. He's made it his own, and he turns up. He's a big game player, and that kind of personality I think is fantastic. I see it echoing all the way through the team. To think that we have players like Romero and Decky, even Vicario, Son in his sort of in his sort of twilight years. We got, I think we're really well taken care of, and I think that was a big moment to come through that Manchester City game, especially conceding just before half time. I think we adapted to the way that they played, and I think we could have run away 4 or 5 at the end. That sounds like bold, but we had the chances to do it. Richarlison's chance where he just put it right into the goalkeeper's hands after Guardiola basically gave him a free throw was just crazy, and I was blown away by our performance.
Excellent.
Kulusevski seems to have something against Manchester City. He always raises his game. So I'm not sure Guardiola will want to buy him, because I'm not sure he's going to get that level of performance. But I mean, it does sound as though Guardiola is very, very interested in perhaps taking him there, because De Bruyne is not getting any younger, and he could certainly fill in that kind of role.
Well, I mean, in the post-match with Guardiola, he was asked whether Kulusevski is like Kevin De Bruyne, and he almost spat at the reporter who asked him that question. He's like, no one's like Kevin. But yeah,
it's a bar to reach for.
Yeah, definitely.
The average age of our starters was less than Man City's, despite them saying that they've got their second team on whatever. Our average age was younger than theirs, which bodes well for us.
Yeah,
and they also had far less match experience. Our guys had a lot less match experience than theirs.
Yeah, you look at the players they brought on. You look at the players they brought on; they were all effectively first teamers, apart from the last 2 that who did bring down their average age. But Andreas did a fantastic breakdown of the ages and things like that, calling himself Mr.
Oh yeah, that was
Superman.
brilliant. That was a
That
brilliant
was
post.
really, really good. I put it up on Twitter today if anyone's interested, with permission from Andreas. He let me do it.
What are you still doing on Twitter? What a ridiculous cesspit. Get off Twitter. Just get off Twitter. Fucking hell.
It'll all be fine in a couple of days. It'll all
Doesn't
be over.
matter. It won't be fine. It's just full of wankers.
Everybody in America is going no. We are still on a football podcast, so I suggest we.
I'm gonna lose this anyway. My battery's about to run out. So
we will end the actual podcast here. If anybody wants to stick around and talk about this on the Zoom call afterwards, it's perfectly welcome to. I'll stick around for a bit. Always happy to have a bit of a natter about politics. And thank you everyone for joining us. For everyone who has stuck around, if you're here right now, put something in the comments. Say hello, give us a like, follow us for future things. And until then, everybody, thank you for joining us, and come on, you Spurs.
When you
Spurs.